Welcome back everyone, Zaf here. Let's just jump straight to our tier list. We have Cha. She has a ton of crit, as her skills do stack a bunch of crit and attack. Her skill to Dancer can be spammed an infinite number of times, allowing her to melt bosses like butter. This includes the fact that she can stop any enemy from healing. She has that unrecoverable effect, so if you've ever faced that great arachnid boss, you'll know how annoying they are, so her effect will let you defeat them with ease. She has an overall amazing kit, providing a ton of buffs to her and her allies, so she is a fantastic unit to battle against the mightiest foe. And really quick before we continue, if you could support us on Netmarble's creator page, that would be so appreciated. We are currently ranked number 2 for the amount of supporters we have, and for activity we're number 6. If we keep boosting up our rankings, Netmarble will give us rewards to hand out to the viewers, so I really want to do that. Be sure you support so I can give out whatever the devs do provide me. And also, we are so close to the 40,000 subscriber mark. We went from 30,000 to 40,000 in just a week, so I will have a very, and I mean very juicy giveaway coming up. So do subscribe for that. I'll probably announce it in our next video. After her, we have Min. Min does apply plenty of debuffs to the enemies, while also being a buffer and healer. He doesn't heal a ton, but he still provides enough on top of his already amazing kit. You are able to swap him out quickly during combat, meaning your carries can come in quick after Min sets the stage for them. Now next up, we're going to look at Jiwoo. She is my absolute favorite unit right now. She's able to solo bosses without a type advantage with ease. Her HP scaling makes her naturally tanky, and her skills reset, that being due to the passive she has. Not only does she deal damage and act as a tank, but she also provides a ton of break, alongside the capacity to provide shields as well. Jiwoo is arguably one of the best units in this game right now. I use her all the time. She is my number 1 hunter, but she's still not better than Cha in terms of damage, but she's one of the best units you can use. Now next up, we have this aggressive beast here. We have Silvermane Yunhoo. They are a fantastic damage dealer, especially once he hits A1. Getting a dupe of him is so good. He has bleeds and he deals a ton of damage as his HP does lower, though that does make him a squishy hunter to deal with. If you want his passive damage buff to go off, the closer he is to losing the battle, the stronger he is going to turn out. Our strongest Dark Elemental hunter so far. You will most likely be very impressed by his damage output, especially since his buffs do stack onto himself. Now next up, we do have Choi. He is just a little bit weaker than Silvermane Yunhoo. Although he does lack the ability to crit, he still can dish out a ton of damage, comparable to his dark counterpart. Jumping into the battle, he causes the enemy's defense to drop, and he has a skill reset and burn. His ultimate causes skills to reset, allowing him to deal a ton of damage all at once. Once you do have a bunch of artifacts to increase his attack stat, he is able to quite literally melt through his opponents, burning them with ease. And on the topic of burns, the next unit we have is Emma, although she needs no introduction. Firstly, she is fantastic for mobbing. Her skills have so much AoE, you'll suddenly love dealing with hordes of enemies at once. She also has a break effect on every single one of her abilities, that includes her basic attacks. She scales of HP, providing her natural tankiness, and regardless of what content you throw at her, bosses or hordes of enemies, she will be able to easily deal with them, making Emma one of the best hunters we have in this game right now. The only issue of her is that she's impossible to summon for. It took me hundreds of summons to get her, so she's one of the most slippery units in this game. Now, a unit that's definitely not slippery, we have Yunhoo in his base form. Although he isn't in our S tier, he is still a fantastic unit, one of, if not the best breaker we have in this game so far. Everything in his kit provides a break, and he scales off defense, meaning it isn't light work for our enemies to kill him off. His damage is surprisingly decent, considering what he is mainly used for. There are no artifact sets that do provide defense currently, but if these get introduced in the game, he will definitely move up on our tier list. And speaking of a unit that will move up in our tier list, we have Dongso. He shreds away shields, making us wonder if he actually belongs in the A tier, not higher up. Again, we lack the defense bonuses to make him a real powerhouse, but as they come in future updates, his position on tier list will definitely be moved, as his damage percentages are honestly quite high. They are nothing to laugh about. Alongside his own self buffs, he is a unit just waiting to break loose. And the next unit coming up in our A tier is Lim. With the recent crit fix, Lim has become even stronger with his nuking abilities. His ultimate just deals so much damage. It was good previously, but now it's just straight up amazing. You do need to make sure you are solid with your aim, landing his full 8 shots, I believe that's the number. He does also have a break, and against bosses is really where he shines, but when you deal with multiple enemies, that's where his weaknesses start to show. He is not good at mobbing, so make sure if you use him, you're versing enemies and you have the right dark team to support him. And speaking of support, Libor is exactly who you want on Lim's team. She is a solid support to any dark unit, while also being able to deal damage herself, especially as we get dupes of her in. She also has a field debuff effect, but it is hard to maintain and land, especially with the given range. Otherwise, she is primed for the success of any dark team within this game. And really quick on the topic of dark units, we do have Kang. He is one of the most powerful damage dealing units in this game. He's basically a placebo SSR unit at this point. He can fill in that damage gap if you ever do need it, especially as you get multiple dupes of him in, as his damage and bleed are so powerful, you won't regret using him. So if you're starting off and you're missing a few SSRs, he will definitely fill in that damage gap. Now, a very interesting unit is Heejin. We'll find her in our A tier. She's able to increase our damage and also is a fantastic support by increasing your allies' ultimate damage, and she's also able to remove debuffs. She has a fantastic kit overall. As she gets more dupes in, she only becomes that much more amazing. She's able to fill the power gauges of her allies, making her a fantastic support unit. And this is especially true at the A5 mark. She starts the battle with her ultimate ready, so she's a solid SR unit, making her one of the best ones we have in this game thus far. Now, speaking of an alright SR unit, we do have Johi. She's a good healer, I guess, but she doesn't really have enough in her kit to make her a unit we strive to use. She isn't bad, but she doesn't do enough to make her great. With the ability to recover mana, she becomes valuable for those long fights we oftentimes do find ourselves in. Otherwise, she doesn't really have a big place on any team. We have lots of alternatives for her, so she isn't really ideal, but if you have to use her, she is a very decent unit. Now, speaking of a not so decent unit, we have Wu, our weakest SSR unit currently. He does have low damage, but he does come with extra mobility due to his skill Iron Fist, recharging the dash skill he has. He is also another one of our defense scalers, and as I noted earlier, we just don't have enough defense resources in this game currently, making him a bit weak of his scaling, but as those get introduced in the game later on, he may move up on our tier list. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, just like Jiwoo, Nam is a very solid water unit, having breaks and freezes. She's also long range, so that is a plus for her. I don't love her playstyle, unfortunately. She does lack a little bit of fluidity on a team, but overall she provides great support, so it's honestly not bad to give her a try. Now, another solid SR unit is Dongsuk. He breaks and deals damage, having self buffs and stuns. He's not only a tank, but also deals damage and provides a ton of breaks, so overall he's a very well-rounded unit. And of course, as he gets more dupes in, he'll only get better, but obviously he is outclassed by our SR units, as they're able to excel farther than him, providing more utility in every one of those categories. But again, not a bad SR unit. If we're ever forced to use SRs, I'm sure he's at the top of our list. Now, starting off our C tier, we have Han. There are unfortunately better water hunters out there, so she doesn't really see much use. Her skill set doesn't really give her much to excel at. There's really nothing fabulous I can say about her, so that's why she finds herself in our C tier. She's not terrible, but she doesn't really have a use. Now, someone that is in our C tier, but does have a bit of a use, is Kim Chul. He has big stuns and shields. Damage reduction is also a plus, and the fact that he has an easy and powerful shield allows us to survive when needed. He's fantastic for the Battle of Icarus, serving his role greatly as a tank. Overall, not a bad unit. He does have that utility, doesn't have that damage, but his kit does make him an interesting unit. Now, I did almost miss one of my favorite units. We have Jinho. We get an absolute ton of free units for him, so you should get him to A5 with ease, making him a hunter you'll definitely use early on, and even in the later stages of the game if needed. He has breaks, he has heals, he also has attack buffs, He does everything you need him to, and he is a prime pick for the Battle of Igris, so definitely don't look down on him. He is a solid unit, a very funny one, but one that actually has solid utility. Now for our next 5 units here, there's really not much to say about them. Some of them are breakers, some of them are damage-ish dealers, some of them are mobbers, and some of them, well, they're completely useless. Overall, they just don't have a solid place in this game so far to make them useful. We have so many better units to consider that I don't think they should really be found on any of your teams in the first place. They won't steal a spot on any team formation. You're better off just using the other options because they don't really excel in this game at all. So yeah, this is our finalized tier list. Hopefully this is something you approve of. If not, drop it in the comments below. I want to see what you think. Am I sleeping on any of these units? I think this is a solid representation of the game up until today. Obviously, as changes come, our tier list will change, and I will update them, so don't worry. So yeah, that was all I had for you today. If you enjoyed, drop a like. Be sure to also subscribe for more Solo Leveling Rise content, and drop a comment with any questions or concerns. And also support us on the Marvel's creator page. That would be so appreciated. This is Zaf signing out.